Oh, Hello, everybody. Good morning. Oh, I don't think I have my camera on. Just a second here. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Just depending on where you're at in the world. Wherever you are, I'm super pumped to be here with you. Glad that you Here we go. Hello, there I am. Glad to be here with you guys. And I'm so pumped because we're going to do some live Q&A time today. This is our second Q&A for the YouTube Academy. I'm just getting us set up in the chat here really quickly. So if you have not gone back already and watched the how to pull your chart from astro.com video and the introduction to astrology video that I taught, talking about the chart anatomy, that's okay. Like you're not behind, you haven't missed anything. You can go back and still watch those videos, and you're going to want to, especially if you're a newer practitioner to astrology, or you want to understand a little bit more closely what do the cusps mean? What are the angles when you're hearing someone talk about those things? So you're going to want to go back and check out those classes. So I'm going to actually put those classes in the chat box for you right now, but they'll also be linked below this video as well, so you can check them out there, okay? How are you guys doing today? Hopefully everyone is doing well. Maybe I'm going to put them in the chat. Hopefully everybody is doing well today, living your best life. I hope that that is the case. Great. Okay, so let's get to it. We've already got some questions coming in, and I've also got some questions that I have gathered that you guys sent to me. Okay, so the first question that we have today is, where do you find software of your birth chart? So I think you're just asking about which software you can use. So first thing is, you can purchase your own software if you'd like to. For me, I use Cirrus, which comes from Cosmic Patterns, and that is David Cochran and Faye Cochran's company. You can also use, oh my goodness, the name popped out of my head, but it is by Alfie Lavoie. So you can look that up. I'll put that in the chat as well, and I will put that in the description box. There's also Solar Fire, which is a pretty traditional software that you can use for astrology. Time Passages is an available option as well. So there's lots of software that you can purchase, and you can just Google it. But like I said, I'll also put some software links in the description box down below. Now, the other thing that you can do if you're looking to pull your chart is, one, you can have an astrologer pull a chart for you. Absolutely. You can order one from me. You can order one from pretty much anybody in our academy, any of our teachers, or you can go to a couple trusted sites. Astro.com is one that I like, and it is one that the previous class was based off of, and I show you how to pull your chart there if you need to have your chart rectified. Any of those things are available at astro.com. Cafe Astrology has got a free chart system that you can pull up there. Astro.seek is another place that you can go to pull a free chart. So there are options and availabilities for you to be able to do that. But for me personally, I do have Solar Fire, and I primarily though use Cirrus, and it is my favorite program. Some people say it's not as intuitive as some other programs, but that's not been my experience. So here we go. Let's get this other set of classes posted to the chat, and then I'm going to answer some more questions. So here's our intro class right here. Okay. All right. So one of the other questions that we got below the video for the intro to astrology class that I want to review with you quickly, which I thought was a really great question. So the question is, how do astrologers decide which housing system to work in, whether they're going to work in whole sign or Placidus or Porphyry? How do you decide? Is it based on what your client is used to? Is it based on what the astrologer works with, and how do you read the charts? Do you read a whole sign and a Placidus chart? So I thought that was an interesting question that I hadn't thought of at all. So the way that I work and the way most astrologers work is we have our standard traditional method that we do use and that we do work with. And sometimes this is where I think it needs a little bit of investigation on the teacher's part, but sometimes you just use the system that you learned under, right? So I actually learned under Placidus, and I also did other training that was under whole sign for different reasons and for different variations of astrology, different practices or techniques, okay? So it really depends on what the astrology teacher or what the astrologer prefers to use. That's how it's done. And I've had clients who have wanted to work with me and they said, I only look at my chart in whole sign. And I have been able to, some of them, if I look at the chart and I can kind of hear it, I've been able to work with people. But this is where I'm happy to refer people to someone who only practices in whole sign. Now, if we are doing a perfection chart or something like that, I'm happy to use whole sign. So it really comes down to what your astrologer is using. So then the further question is, how do you do a reading with somebody if they don't understand astrology at all? Is that possible? And 1,000%, yes, it is. This is where, for you as an astrologer, your consulting skills are really going to come in. And what is your consulting skill training? Because you can do an entire 60, 90-minute astrology reading and talk very little astrology jargon and lingo to the person that's in front of you. But you've got to be able to translate and interpret that to somebody who doesn't speak astrology, because telling them that, transiting Saturn is conjunct your sun, that means absolutely nothing to them. So in your consulting skills, which ISAR, OPA, they offer consulting skills training. And if you are practicing, I would highly suggest that you get consulting skills training, because you may think you're a really great astrologer, but the person sitting across from you has to be able to receive the information. So making sure you can hone that training is a great way to do that, because the information has to be given and received. So I want to assure you that yes, absolutely, you can do an entire consultation and not speak astrology jargon. Now, typically when I am consulting with people, they want to know a little bit more of the astrology that's going on, but I have plenty of clients, and I have higher end clients who don't know anything about astrology, nor do they care. They would like to know what the energetic pattern is, or they're looking for some solution to an energetic hold that maybe they're in, and we explore it from that direction. So this will come down to how you're able to interpret and practically deliver your information. So again, I just want to encourage you, don't be afraid to go hone your skills and hone your training, because one of the other things that we can kind of run into as astrologers and astrology students is we get a very heady or a very intellectual knowledge of the planets or the aspects, but it's not very bodily felt and therefore able to be delivered as well. So getting some practice, getting some training in that never hurts the field of astrology. Because that's the other thing I would really like to point out to you, is that if you are out and you're practicing astrology, right, we are trying really hard in the astro community from, overseas to the United States to make sure that astrology in the industry has a good name, is seen in a good light, is understood a little bit better. So if you're practicing out there, making sure that your practice and your delivery of your practice is seeking to add benefit to the world of astrology, because not a single one of us is just practicing astrology for us. Every client, every advertisement, everything speaks to the world of astrology as a whole. So, these are things to just kind of keep in mind as you're practicing, and ask yourself, what does that mean to you and advancing in your practice? Okay. All right, so we've got a couple other questions, and feel free, you guys, put your questions in the chat if you've got some that have come up for you, and we will get for that. Okay, so Valerie, let's email me and let's see what that looks like for you. Okay, so just email me, and you can just send it back. You can just email me from the address that I sent it to you from. Okay, so the question is, Stormie mentioned that the sign on the cusp controls the house. Remember, this is from the previous video. But in non-whole sign systems, the portion of the house that is the next sign should be considered. Does this refer to just the, okay, so here's what we're asking. I'm going to show you guys. Let me pull up a chart so that we can see what we're talking about here. So we're going to look at the chart this morning, just for example, of Miss Angelina Jolie. Okay, so we're going to pull this up for just a minute. Hi, Somi, 안녕하세요. Okay, so the question is, in the example that I gave in our introduction class, we were talking about the difference between using whole sign or using Placidus in terms of how it will divide your house systems. If it's whole sign, every house is going to start at 0 degrees of a particular sign out here in your housing wheel, okay? That is not the case when we're using Placidus. You can see here that the second house cusp starts at 20 degrees of Leo. Okay, so that means there's 9 degrees of Leo in the beginning of the second house before we get to 0 degrees of Virgo. So the thing to consider is whichever housing system you're using, it doesn't matter. The sign and the planet that are on the cusp of that particular house, that's the sign and the planet that are in charge, right? So as you're making decisions, you're getting a big influence into your chart life, it's going to be the sign on the cusp that is in charge. Now, we can see that in a Placidus model, there is Leo energy and Virgo energy in the second house. So because we've got 2 signs in the house, yes, we need to consider what both the sun as the ruling energy of Leo and Mercury are doing in the chart or in the transit. And there may be a really powerful transit that's happening through the energy of Virgo, and that's fantastic, that's phenomenal. But how it's going to spell out and likely how we will actually get things done in the second house, we can have a big voice, a lot of opinion, a lot of suggestion, a lot of stimulation from Virgo energy, but it is Leo who has the final say in how we're going to get things done. So we would really want to also look at what's happening to the sun. And this is where the practice of interpretation comes back to you, to consider all of the layers and the pieces that are in place. But whether you're using whole sign or you're using Placidus, the sign and the planet that are on the cusp, that's who's in charge of that house. Okay. Now, there may be people living in it, but, you know, squatters, just kidding. Virgos are not squatters. Good. I am so grateful to have you here. We've got a couple people in the chat who are brand new. So welcome to the channel. This is a great time for you to be coming in. The Academy from year 1 is still up. So you have an opportunity to go back to all of the beginning information that we started with last year. We started from the bottom. Now we're here. That just came into my head, but we started from the history of astrology and we have continued to progress on. So that is a phenomenal place for you. If you're a new practitioner, or even if you've been practicing for a while, but, you know, solo practicing, we kind of have information all over the place, right? It's not, we usually need to come back into some kind of structure to find out where the holes in our knowledge are. So if you're new, go back to the beginning of the playlist, which you can find on the home screen. You can find below this video. You can find below any of the Academy videos or any of my YouTube videos and start there. Work right from the beginning and get your knowledge and come forward. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you guys, since we're back at the beginning of another year, is where are we keeping all of this information? How does this work? How do I know when things are happening? Let's take a little look around really quickly. First of all, you can come to stormiegrace.com. This is my website. And right on this home screen, you can click that big old button up there, and it's going to take you to our 2022 YouTube Academy page. Okay, so every time we've got a new class that's coming up, you will see links to both of the classes to be watching for the time here as well. You can find them down below, and you'll also find the date that we're going to be getting together live for the Q&A or for the class itself. So you can come right here and get your information. Now, we've also left up the 2021 syllabus and some other information so that you can go back through and re-meet your teachers and so on. So in the 2021 syllabus that we've got right here, you can come through and see all of the classes that have happened. All of these are in the playlist. So feel free to go back over that, and we're going to go through and actually update this and put links directly to each of the classes. So watch out for that, okay? But the other important tool that's available for you here, especially if you're just getting started or if you're continuing to grow, is to click this recommended reading list. This came directly from our teachers, okay? And they gave it to us last year. I've checked with them all 52. We ended up having 52 teachers this year. I checked with all of them to see if they had any adjustments to books or anything like that. And this is your recommended reading list with links to find these books and readings as well. So you're able to click right here, watch the class and say, oh, okay, you know, Naomi said I should start with Foundations of Astrology. Let me grab that book or let me grab that online text. So that is an absolutely available resource for you, okay? At the bottom of the page, if you click here, it will take you right back into the playlist that's actually on YouTube. So it's going to take you to all of the classes. So you can just scroll on through here and see all of the classes. Now they are in order from bottom to top, okay? The bottom ones were our first ones and the top ones were our last ones, where we ended with Colin Bedell last year, okay? So you've got that as another resource at your fingertips. And if you're like, who are these yahoos over here who are teaching for this academy? Who are our beautiful teachers who are coming to the table? You can click right down here and continue to meet your teachers, their bios, any links to their particular work or their websites. You can find it all on here. Okay, so you can come through and meet your teachers. Now, I am absolutely tickled to announce that this year we also have a few new teachers. We're going to go back through and do lots of Q&A, go back and answer questions on classes that you have. And we're giving you 2 weeks to go back and watch each particular class. It will typically be one at a time, but my intro classes were so short, we decided to put them together and answer them here. But I'm thrilled to tell you that we've also got a couple new teachers coming in. We're going to have Louise Eddington coming in October 5th with a brand new class for us, and she's going to introduce us to the major asteroids, what they are, how they function, what their history is, and how we use them in astrology. So our students that are interested in asteroid work, absolutely come back for that particular class. We're going to have MJ Patterson coming to the Academy this year a little bit later, and she's bringing us information on chart rectification. So if that is a class you are interested in, if that is a system that you're interested in and you're ready to start learning how to rectify your chart, she is going to be our teacher who comes back to bring that to the table. Now, chart rectification, in case you're not certain what that is when somebody doesn't have their birth time, and all over the world, it's not uncommon. All over the world, there are people who have birth days, but no birth times. Okay, so this is where we have a very specific method of going back in, looking at major events, sometimes minor events in your life, and we can walk you back to your birth time and pull a chart, and that chart is considered to be rectified. Now, I'm going to share this with you as well. Even if you have your chart and your birth time, right? If you've got it, it's on your birth certificate, or your parents knew exactly the time that you were born. I would trust your parents more than a birth certificate, as a matter of fact, because what we have found out over and over and over again is that on the birth certificate, the birth time is actually a few minutes earlier or later, depending on who was filling out your form and calling your time of birth, which wasn't always right on time. So if you're one of our students out there who's like, yeah, I've got my birth chart and there's just something in my whole spirit that feels off about it, this would be a great time to see someone who does chart rectification. And we've got incredible astrologers who specialize in that. MJ Patterson, Alfie Lavoie, Linnea Van Horn specializes in this. So there are options for you to know that your chart and your energetic stamp is as current as is possible. So I want you guys to know we've got some teachers who are going to come in a little bit later in the year after we get a couple Q&As out of the way, and they're going to bring us some new information. And don't worry, by the time we're moving into 2023, we will absolutely have more classes and more talk on relationship astrology, synastry, and compatibility, because I know you guys said you wanted a little bit more about that. And our teachers are absolutely willing to come back, including the brilliant and beautiful Nadia Shaw. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense for you. It shows you where you're going to be able to access your classes, where you can start and get your reading list or go back to it. Keep in mind that your classes, from the Q&As to the live new classes, will be happening on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Now, right now I'm in Colorado, so we're on Mountain Daylight Time, but that's the time zone that you want to convert into to be able to catch your classes. Now, let me share one more space with you of where you can find information. And you can always find information here, not just about your classes, but other things going on the channel as well, that relate to the YouTube Academy. Okay, let me share my screen with you. Okay, so you can also come to the home screen of Stormie Grace. Now, your live class, whatever is happening, your premiere class, however we're doing it, new classes, new lives, anything like that, you will always come to the home screen and you'll be able to see it pop right up. And you can see that it's showing that I've got a live going on because we're here together. Okay, but the other thing you have access to is looking at the playlist, and you can see all the playlists that are available on my channel, all sorts of things that are available here, okay? But the biggest thing to know is the community tab. The community tab is where I am sharing information with you, not only about the YouTube Academy and where are your next classes, where are we heading, where are the links, what are the times, but also I am bringing you guys all year long with other teachers, other astro learning experiences. We've got the Secrets of Masters from Master Astrologers going on right now. This is a free event. If there is an opportunity for astrology learning, I will bring it to you and I will put information here. It will also be in the newsletter. I bring you opportunities. There are people in astrology, teachers, companies, not only looking to have astrology students and have you for their business, but are you a virtual assistant? Are you a good bookkeeper? Your skills in the industry of astrology may be very valuable. And I will be bringing you not just the astrological updates of what's going on in the sky, but ways for you to connect in and have resources to gain your practice if that's what you want to do. And if you're also just here to see what this full moon is going to be doing for you, I invite you to show up to this channel as well. So I just want you to know and see that there's also content that is available to you in these community tabs, and it is about you being able to take advantage. And sometimes it's just about you laughing about what's going on in the world, but this is our community space. Okay, so just some things to keep in mind so you know what's going on as you're traveling around the YouTube Academy. And if it is your first year here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. If this is your year where you're coming back, I look forward to hearing your questions, right? Bring your questions. Leave them below the posts in the community tab. Leave them below the next video if you've thought about something or you grabbed your chart. Bring them live to talk with your teacher about them. We want to engage you, and we want you to have as many resources and as much clarity is absolutely available to you in this academy, okay? All right, my beautiful friends, we're going to wrap up your Q&A for now. Not going to hold you too long, but we will be coming together again on the 22nd for our next Q&A, which is going to be with Miss Jamie Lee Goldstein, and she covered our luminaries, so the sun and the moon in astrology. So just know in advance, that's going to be your next class that you're going to. So rewatch that video and bring your questions to the Q&A. We will have her live for 1 hour where you get her undivided attention to ask questions. That's the benefit of the Q&A. So bring them back or put them below the video, okay? My beautiful friends, I love you an absolute ton. I look forward to bringing you the rest of the YouTube Academy. I look forward to bringing you the rest of the content that's happening on this channel as well, more astro information. So I love you guys. I'm going to wrap with you, leave you here. If you've got additional questions for me on either of the classes I have taught or about the Academy itself, please leave them below this video, and I'm always checking in to make sure that I can answer those questions for you, okay? All right, my beautiful friends from Colorado, sending it out to South Africa, to Seoul, to Germany, to France, to all over the world. I absolutely love you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.